I ask or remind you all to please turn off your cell phones and any other electronic devices that make noise. We would certainly appreciate that. First item is call to order. If the clerk will call the roll.
Trustee Kozak.
Here.
Trustee Clare.
Present.
Trustee Sullivan.
Here.
Trustee Dunham.
Here.
Trustee Madej.
Present.
Trustee Bishke.
Present.
President Daly.
Present. All present and accounted for. Next item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to ask Trustee Madej.
Audience, please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Trustee Madej. Next item is the approval of minutes from November 9th, 2021. I believe you have been given a corrected set. The only change was listing at the top with the roll call. It was shown twice, it's now shown once. So,
Motion to approve.
Second.
motion and second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is the approval of expenditures for $8,658,846.43. Questions?
Move to approve. A second.
Motion and a second. Do you have that, Marilyn? Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Kozak.
Aye.
Trustee Clare.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Madej.
Aye.
Trustee Bishke.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is presentations. We have presentations of 25-year service award to Kimberly E. Haywood, Health Inspector. Are you here somewhere? There you are. Okay, please step forward. Julie? You want to come up too, Julie? Let me make sure I got the right one here. Okay, the right name on here. Ah, this one says you. Yes, it is. Okay. Let me do this. Okay. How about we get you on one side of her and me on the other? Okay, and then we will get a picture here. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have 25-year service award to Michael Boyd. Michael is the plumbing inspector with the community development. And Julie, you want to also come forward here? Okay. Why am I coming up? Yes, okay. Here we go. Great.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Trustee.
Congratulations, Michael. Congratulations.
All right, next item is liquor license request. We have a request from Ms. Sue Swanson for one Class C liquor license for 7-Eleven located at 903 West Wise Road, and it's a new owner. Are you here? Someone from, yes, you are obviously not Sue Swanson. So please step forward here. You can lower your mask, but we need you to state your name, address for the record, and please sign in.
Jose Avalo Sanchez, and let me get the address.
Sure. We will wait.
Sorry about that. Which is
Are you representing the corporate office?
yes,
Okay.
Actually, I don't know the address,
We
to be
don't
honest.
need the
Okay.
address, just need his
Okay.
name for the
Just-
minutes.
yeah, just your name.
Just print it so that I.
Jose
can-
Avalos Sanchez.
Yeah. Okay, so you're looking to be the new owner effective January 1, I assume?
Yes.
Okay. Are you planning any changes or anything different for the establishment?
No.
Okay, so keeping it the same.
Right.
Okay, all right. Questions, comments from the board?
No.
Okay. I know we have a letter regarding the application, so that's gone to the Liquor Commissioner's office, which is upstairs. So you want to do a follow-up, or Sue, do the follow-up tomorrow or next day with Liquor Commissioner's office, Carmen Selke up there.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Next item is consent agenda. Consent agenda will be read in its entirety, voted on as one motion to approve. If you wish to discuss an item further, please indicate that when the item is read by the village clerk so that it can be removed from the consent agenda and discussed further under committee reports. Otherwise, all items will be approved as presented on the consent agenda. Will the clerk please read the consent agenda?
Number 1, liquor licenses. The motion would be to approve the request from Mrs. Mary Alice Benoit of Schaumburg on stage for 2 Class D one-day liquor licenses for Friday, January 21st, 2022, and Friday, January 28th, 2022, at the Al Larson Prairie Center for the Arts at 201 Schaumburg Court. 2, Engineering and Public Works Committee. The motion would be to authorize participation in the Sourcewell contract and award the purchase of 5 replacement 2022 Ford Interceptors to National Auto Fleet Group of Wattstown, California, in the amount of $220,339.87. B, the motion would be to approve an agreement for the Algonquin Road at Hammond Drive intersection improvements, Phase 2 design services with Thomas Engineering Group of Oak Brook, Illinois, in the amount of $134,778 and approve the required resolution. C, the motion would be to approve an agreement for the Jeffrey Lane and Illinois Avenue corrugated metal pipe sewer assessment services with RJN Group, Inc. of Wheaton, Illinois, in the total amount of $62,700 and approve the required resolution. D, the motion will be to refer the proposed policy statement 7.52 asset management policy to the committee of the whole. 3, finance, legal, administrative, and general government. The motion will be to approve the finance department monthly report for October 2021. B, the motion will be to approve membership in the Illinois Municipal League and that membership dues in the amount of $5,000 be paid. C, the motion would be to accept the 2020-21 municipal compliance reports for the Schaumburg Police and Schaumburg Firefighters pension funds. D, the motion would be to approve a resolution authorizing a Class 6B tax incentive for Lucid Star LLC located at 125 Commerce Drive. E, the motion would be to approve the 2021 Septemberfest final report. 4, Committee of the Whole. The motion will be to approve the proposed revisions to the Personnel Manual and Benefits Handbook. B, the motion will be to approve the proposed whistleblower protection policy for inclusion in the Village of Schaumburg Policy Manual. 5, Transportation Committee. The motion would be to authorize the village president to execute a service agreement with Pace Suburban Bus for Route 905 or an amount not to exceed $298,715.64 and approve the required resolution. B, the motion would be to accept the 4-year implementation plan for the bicycle program improvements. 6, Planning, Building, and Development Committee. The motion would be to refer the proposed code amendment relative to the video screens on gas station pumps to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a public hearing. B, the motion would be to refer the proposed code amendment pertaining to zoning-related public notice signs to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a public hearing. 7, Plan Commission. The motion would be to approve a fence variation for 1931 Fairhaven Court. B, the motion would be to approve the 2020 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, CAPER, and direct staff to make the necessary submittal to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. 8, Zoning Board of Appeals. The motion would be to approve a special use for a gymnasium and parking variation for AIM Sports Performance, LLC, 455 State Parkway, Unit 106. B, the motion would be to approve wall sign variation for Charles Schwab, 1160 Plaza Drive, and we're pulling that one?
Yes, for the petitioner.
Okay. 9, Project Review Group. The motion would be to approve a site plan amendment, building addition, parking lot modification, and Woodfield Regional Center design review for Costco Wholesale Store, 1375 North Meacham Road. 10, Resolutions. The motion would be to adopt as Resolution R21-090, designating an area in the Village of Schaumburg, Cook County, Illinois, consisting of property index number 07-22-301-063-000, 200 South Roselle Road, as a blighted area. B, the motion will be to adopt as resolution number 21-091, approving and authorizing a 7B classification for 200 South Roselle Road, Schaumburg, Illinois. 1G Capital LLC, Tony's Fresh Market. C, the motion will be to adopt as resolution R21-092, approving and authorizing a 6B classification for 125 Commerce Drive, Schaumburg, Illinois, Lucid Star LLC. E, the motion would be to adopt as resolution R21-093, authorizing the village manager and village clerk to execute an agreement for the Algonquin Road at Hammond Drive intersection improvements, Phase 2 design services with Thomas Engineering Group. E, the motion would be to adopt as resolution number 21-094, authorizing the village manager and village clerk to execute an agreement for the Jeffrey Lane and Illinois Avenue corrugated metal pipe sewer assessment services with RJN Group, Inc. F, the motion would be to adopt as resolution number R21-095, amending portions of the benefit handbook and the personnel manual for employees of the Village of Schaumburg, 2022. G, the motion would be to adopt as resolution number 21-096, approving and authorizing the village manager to execute 2 participation agreements relating to the National Opioid Settlement. H, the motion would be to adopt as resolution number 21-097, authorizing the village president to execute a service agreement with Pace Suburban Bus for Route 905. I, the motion would be to adopt as resolution number R21-098, authorizing Village of Schaumburg subordination of mortgage or lien on 303 Woodville Lane, Schaumburg, Illinois. J, the motion would be to adopt as resolution number 21-099, approving and authorizing the execution of a lease termination agreement and release with Bright Horizons Children's Center, LLC. 11, ordinances. The motion will be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance number 21-111, authorizing the levy and collection of taxes for corporate and municipal purposes of the Village of Schaumburg for the fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2021 and ending April 30th, 2022. B, the motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance number 21-112, granting a site plan amendment, building addition, parking lot modifications, and Woodfield Regional Center design review for Costco Wholesale Store, 1375 North Meacham Road. C, the motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance number 21-113, granting a special use for gymnasium and parking variation for AIM Sports Performances LLC, 455 State Parkway, Unit 106. D, the motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance.
pulled.
And
Being
we're
pulled.
pulling
It's
that
being
by the
pulled?
petitioner.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, and we're, okay. Then E, the motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance number 21-114, granting a fence variation, 1931 Fairhaven Court. F, the motion would be to waive first reading and adopt as ordinance number 21-115, amending Title 11, Chapter 112, Section 112.14 of the Village Code relative to retail sale of alcoholic beverages by warehouse distribution centers. This concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you, Clerk Clark. I look for a motion to approve the consent agenda as having been read, with the item B under Zoning Board of Appeals regarding Charles Schwab wall signs, and item D under ordinances being pulled for further discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Kozak.
Aye.
Trustee Clare.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Madej.
Aye.
Trustee Bishki.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays, motion carries. So that brings us to 2 items, and I'm going to take the first one actually as being the one on Charles Schwab, if that's all right. So we'll ask that the petitioner come forward. And then maybe staff. You know, I have a question first here. So I read the summary, and the summary says petitioners requesting a sign variation for 2 wall signs, one in the west elevation and one in the south. And the recommendation says approval, but yet that's not, is that what the zoning board said? I thought they concurred with one for the west and denial for the one for the south.
Correct. And we wanted
So
to,
this is saying something different. Not saying denial on here. It's saying approval for both of the signs, but that's not actually what happened.
that's correct.
Doesn't matter. But I understand what they were looking at, but that's not what the summary sheet says. So, anyway, please proceed.
Okay. So
So
like,
just so we're clear, so this has already gone before the zoning board for discussion, and
Yes.
so we're not going to have a whole big hearing and everything else, but certainly want to hear what you have to say.
Okay.
Okay?
like you said, we made a presentation in front of the zoning board,
You can take your mask on if you wish.
Okay.
We're 6 feet apart. Thank you.
and they approved the sign on the west elevation, and we wanted to have a discussion about the sign on the south elevation that was denied by the zoning board. The sign on the south elevation, there are no signs on the south, so how this lot is laid out, the building is on the northern corner, and the entry road comes here by the old Panera Bread, and then that's how you come into the property. Well, it's in the corner, and having a sign on that south elevation as traffic's pulling in through the center, that sign, we believe is necessary. It's a 64 square foot sign, not too large, but enough to identify the building for traffic coming through. And in that entry road, that Panera Bread also had signage on all 4 elevations. including their south elevation, and that building was closer to the entry road. So we feel that because this building is even further, it would help, with wayfinding. We also have a representative from Schwab and the property management.
Just give us your name.
Good evening, Board. Raid Al-Freyhat, representing Charles Schwab. I'm part of the design team, and we worked a lot of time on the building, try to make it an attractive building for the village, for the intersection that represents both the brand, some modern aesthetics, et cetera. And you can kind of see some in some of the renderings that you have there. We believe that the sign is very important. It's part of our brand. On the west elevation, we were not able to implement the actual Schwab logo branding because of just the design and the canopy portion. So we were really looking to see if there's an opportunity to put our logo sign on that facing the Meacham Road. We all know that it's a very high traffic road and there's a ton of traffic coming that way towards Gulf Road. We're really hoping to capture their attention. As Karen mentioned, one of our representatives, having a sign there allows the traffic pattern, the drivers identify the building and not pass the intersection and then forced to make turnarounds, et cetera. Allows them to make the right turn previously prior to Panera Bread or right on Gulf Road and then turn around into the lot. From the branding standpoint, this is very key for us. There's not a lot of buildings in the village that have a unique situation like this where they're not sharing the space with other businesses. So we're kind of in a unique situation where we have all four elevations kind of available to us. And we also didn't want the south elevation to look as a kind of full, kind of blank wall, essentially. And the sign kind of brings it a little bit more alive with some other aesthetics and some other elements architecturally that we've done working closely with the village zoning department. And we really appreciate your consideration and thank you for your time.
My name is Tim Gallagher. I'm the property owner, and I just wanted to share my observations here as to what I think is maybe justifiable for this special use of this variation. I know that part of the staff concern was that that the signage needs to be on a road frontage, and this is really not on a road frontage in that it fronts up to the private road that goes from Meacham to Plaza Drive, which is true. However, I wanted to point out that this is really that this particular site is somewhat of an anomaly because if you go from Meacham and Higgins or Meacham to Algonquin Road, this parcel really has four sides that really all represent somewhat of a frontage because of the unique characteristics of the site being on the hard corner and it being a freestanding building. So, whereas I understand the concern that it doesn't really face a public highway, such as Meacham or Gulf, I do think that 39,000 cars per day travel northbound on Meacham, and even though the private road is not a public road, this really does function as kind of a storefront. So, for that reason, I know staff also was concerned about setting a precedent, and again, our thinking is that because this is such an anomaly to the other intersections up and down up and down Meacham Road, that it really is, really kind of an exception to the rule. So just wanted to share that observations and happy to take any questions if any trustees have any thoughts on it.
I'm going to ask Julie to come up. If I can ask in the meantime, is there any ground signage to be at that corner? Or is it just building signage?
There's building signage, but they do have a ground sign for other tenants also. But there wasn't an option, right?
There will be ground signs, Mayor, yes. There's one on Gulf Road and there wasn't one on Meacham, but a car hit that and took it down, but we will be re-erecting a monument sign on Meacham.
And where would you be doing that?
Right by the former Panera Bread, the existing, right on Meacham Road where it previously was, so just a little bit north of Panera Bread.
Okay, I think I see it on this picture here. Okay. All right, thank you. Julie? So, a little background.
So to clarify, I think the ground sign will be a shared sign, right, with
Yes,
the
that's
three
right, yes.
tenants?
Yeah.
It kind of shows up in the aerial that was included in the staff report. You have that President Daily out. But if you look on the Google Maps, I think it was hit long enough ago that it doesn't quite show up. But it had the three different tenant panels for the three, what was the three restaurants, now the Charles Schwab and the other two buildings. So the property is located on the corner. It's allowed to have, by right, two signs facing the adjacent roadways, one facing Gulf and one facing Meacham. The petitioner applied for an administrative approval to shift the sign that faces Meacham to the east side of the building, and that was granted. And so the two additional wall signs that they're requesting, one is facing Meacham, and I explain that because it's a little, counterintuitive, because they are allowed to have one there, but they basically gave that up and shifted it to the east side of the building, which is where the entrance, the commercial entrance to the building is. So they asked for a wall sign facing Meacham, which is located on top of like a sunshade or a canopy. Staff recommended approval of that sign, and zoning board concurred with that. I apologize, it is confusing. The minutes are correct. The cover sheet doesn't accurately reflect that the staff recommendation and the zoning board of appeals recommendation was denial for the fourth wall sign to be located on the south side of the building. There was some discussion at the meeting about the visibility of the site, a lot of discussion on the uniqueness of the property from the petitioner, and discussion on the fact that they would have a ground sign along Meacham, which would give some earlier indication before you got to the corner about where to turn, and the fact that Charles Schwab was located there. In terms of staff's analysis, we couldn't really find kind of a reason to support the variation. I mean, we have multiple buildings in the village that are located on corners. We don't have ordinances that allow a sign on each and every face of the building. The building is very visible. It's attractive. It's new. It's very visible on the corner. It didn't seem to be a compelling, reason, like this isn't a customer entrance. There seemed to be adequate signage for that. And so it was challenging for us to differentiate how this would be supported, in light of other, the code being what it is, and really other similar situations in the village. And so we recommended denial, but did think that the third sign was appropriate. And had this been platted as an outlot, they would be allowed to have a third sign, but it's not. And so they're only allowed to have the two signs.
So you're saying if this was a standalone lot, so to speak, that was not tied in with any other?
If it was considered to be an outlot, like an outlet of a shopping center,
Okay.
Which it's not, it doesn't meet that definition, but if it was considered to be an outlet of the shopping center, it would get one on each street frontage and one facing the shopping center. And oftentimes outlets, you have people internally circulating, and that's why they get that extra sign. The entrance is sometimes, facing the center. And so this seemed similar to that. And it also seems to, warrant a sign on the east, which is where the entrance is, and the west, which is Meacham.
Okay. Questions, comments from the board? Trustee Claire?
Yeah, I support the third one. The fourth one, I mean, maybe. If the ground sign wasn't there, I could see somebody saying, well, you can't see it, but with the ground sign being there, I don't support this fourth sign. I mean, I don't think we've ever done that before on any building. 4 signs on a one building. I don't think.
Anyone else? Harry, you're chairman of zoning board. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to it?
Yeah, Harry Ramondi, Chairman of Zoning Board. When we looked at this, and we had the same question that the mayor had, the administrative sign that was put in place when they applied for this building was the one that threw it off, because basically they're allowed the two. Because the entrance is on the east side, they've got that one, that's three, with the 2 that are allowed. The fourth sign being at south entrance, we didn't feel that it was necessary, and plus setting a precedence was something we were concerned with. The fact that going by that many times, you look at that, I think architecturally there could be something to improve on that other than a sign. And today, when you look at, everybody's got a cell phone with a GPS system, like maps. If you can't find that building, something's wrong. So all the signs in the world, I think we all agreed 7-1 that was, was enough. Three signs. That fourth one was overdoing it and again setting a precedence. So
Okay.
that's basically it.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
So once again, anyone else from the board? Trustee Madej?
I just want to say that I concur with the zoning board and the staff's recommendation on this one.
Anyone else? Look for a motion then.
Go ahead and make a motion to support staff's recommendation for 3 signs.
Second.
So that recommendation would be to concur with staff's recommendation and the zoning board's recommendation of the one west elevation sign and deny the south elevation sign, correct?
Correct.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Would also be to approve a ordinance?
Correct, yeah.
Well, I was going to get to
We
that.
can do it as separate motions, or you can take.
Okay.
Okay. So will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Kozak.
Aye.
Trustee Clare.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Madej.
Aye.
Trustee Bishki.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays. Then I would look for a motion to concur with the ordinance, which is the same as what I've already read, and that would be ordinance number 21-116.
So moved.
That's to waive first reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Kozak.
Aye.
Trustee Clare.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Madej.
Aye.
Trustee Bishki.
Aye.
Thank you. Sorry, it's denied.
Could all those who spoke for the petitioner sign in on
Yeah,
the sheet up
please
here?
put your names down, and the young man that's leaving too, his name. Just
Tim?
put his name down so I have it for my minute. Would you just write it, I just need it for the minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Next item is committee report, under committee reports is Zoning Board of Appeals. This is regarding pertaining to home occupations. It's listed as a recommendation to approve the zoning board recommendation. However, there was some disagreement as to exactly what this is, so felt it was important that we have conversation. So I'm going to ask Julie, if you wouldn't mind, please, to start, and then Harry, if you would come up after her.
So as President Daley said, this was a code amendment regarding some changes to the zoning code pertaining to home occupations. It was discussed at the Planning, Building, and Development Committee in June, and staff was given some policy direction to change the code. We drafted the code language with legal counsel and presented it to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and the recommendation from the Zoning Board of Appeals is different than the policy that was recommended by PBD and then ultimately by the Village Board. And so the cover sheet that you have in your packets lays out a summary of the intent of the code and then the differences between the initial kind of policy and what staff had presented in code language and then what came out of the Zoning Board of Appeals. This is part of a larger initiative that was started at least a couple of years ago to look at village processes that don't have a clear identifiable benefit, and particularly to look at processes that involve outside customers. And so staff took a look at the home-based business code, and we recommended some changes in light of kind of the lack of violations we see regarding these businesses the last several years, and then just the fact, even pre-COVID-19, that a lot more people were working from home and that businesses and the way we get products and things like that have changed. And so you don't have as many of the home-based businesses where people say, we're storing things in their garage and shipping them out and, and things like that. There's a lot more people that run businesses out of their house in a manner that you can't tell that it's any different than a single-family home. So it was a modernization of the ordinance, and then in particular, two things. The current ordinance calls for, and we have been doing licensing inspections of the inside and outside of a home when a license is initially applied for, and then every 3 years we do an inspection of the inside and the outside of the home. Now, this pertains generally to home-based businesses, ones that deal with care of humans, care of animals, or food. Are done annually, and those are done by a different division. But these are the general ones. The recommendation from the PBD committee was to eliminate all interior inspections of these general home occupations. So the initial inspection would just be an exterior inspection to see if it met property maintenance codes and to see if there were anything identifiable that would identify this home as having a business run from it. And then we would eliminate the systematic every 3-year inspections altogether. The Zoning Board of Appeals is recommending that we continue the practice of both the interior and exterior inspections for the initial, and that rather than eliminating the inspections every 3 years, that we increase the frequency to every 2 years. And so staff's recommendation would continue to be that we streamline the process and stick with the recommendation from PBD. But I know that Trustee Daly asked to hear from Harry afterwards, so I will step down.
Chairman Raimondi.
Well, Julie summed it up as far as everything that was said. I think the zoning board felt that basically the health, safety, and welfare of the community, knowing where these home occupations are, and things can change quite rapidly in a year, let alone 3 years. So that's why we recommended the 2-year inspection with the interior and exterior inspections upon approval, and then again after 2 years, and the opportunity to also do random inspections. And I realized that this was looked at and there wasn't much value added when we recommended that, but the value added, I think, is important to the community, knowing that their neighbor who's getting a lot of traffic or something's going on 2-3 houses down that they don't even know, at least know what is happening down there. The value added part of it, I know is more on the financial end, possibly, but we don't look at that on the zoning part of it. The fact that I think there was relying on the CSRs to be reported, and then the code enforcement would go out and look at these instances. Relying on the residents to basically complain about their neighbor or what have you. So we thought it was better to have something in place to keep everybody honest. There's 279 of them last recorded. How many of them that we don't know of? At least these 279 are people that have come before and honestly presented their business to us and done everything the right way. But still, we feel that every 2 years was the right thing or feasible to do on our parts as residents. Any questions?
Any initial questions, comments from the board? So,
Yes.
there we go. Trustee Kozak.
I think out of 279 we know of, we don't know how many internets are working out there. Obviously, since the pandemic, so many people are working from home and everything like that. Obviously, that's not necessarily a nuisance to the village, if it's just an internet type of issue. I don't have a problem with that, but what concerns me is the child care and the food processing and stuff like that. I don't think we can eliminate stuff like that. I think stuff like that needs to be inspected. Same way with the areas that are having a high, when I say high traffic volume, I'm talking about 10, 12, 15, 20 customers a month coming in and picking up stuff. I think we should check their outside, check their inside, and make sure that that's available.
That was not proposed to be changed, because if it's the food or human or animal care or whatever, that would remain the same. The change was the other businesses.
Yeah, but you're going to 2 years, you're talking.
No, but on the, correct me if I'm wrong, that's annually they get inspected,
Yeah, we
right?
would keep that annually. So
Okay.
if they have care of humans, animals, or anything with food, it would be an annual inspection.
Yeah, you still don't feel like, you really don't feel, staff doesn't feel that it's necessary after 3 years to go in and check a business that's running, not knowing what size quantity, how much have they grown after 3 years?
So let me answer part of that, if I may. So the intent, I think we need clarification here, because we have so many different types of home occupations. So the intent of this was for those homes that are basically using it for a small office or a business address, potentially like one room in a home or something, that has no outside signs, no activities that, displayed, the exterior, no structural altercations, no outside storage. They don't sell commodities or products or anything from there. There's no articles to be sold. There's no employees that come and visit. It's basically somebody who's doing something from home, and basically you could not tell if you walked past the house. So that was the intent here was, am I right, Julie? Yes.
Yes.
So that is the intent here, was to say that these are not the ones that we obviously need to be more cautious of, which is the food and the daycare and stuff like that. These are the ones that just people are doing the right thing and complying, and therefore staff felt that coming by and checking every 3 years to make sure nothing's changed is sufficient. And then only doing exterior reviews and not interior reviews. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what we're looking at. We're not looking at food, not looking at changing the other inspections, because you do know how touchy I am about maintaining the residential characters of neighborhoods with so many businesses that want to impede on that. This is not Bill Gates's neighborhood that started in a garage, type of deal. So that's really what this is all about. So make sure it's just clear to everybody what we're discussing. Okay. Further questions, Trustee Kozak?
No.
No, okay. Trustee Claire?
Yeah, I think we've got to clarify, people that are working from home during the pandemic for the last year and a half or close to 2 years is different than somebody that has a registered business. That's what we got to clarify here. I think we're missing the point. Those people don't even come into the picture because they're employed by somebody else. I'm talking about somebody like myself that has a home business, and I still think that we should, I don't know about 2 years, I think we should still inspect it every 3 years, interior, because things change. How do you know if they're hiring employees and they're bringing people in or they're stocking stuff in their garage? An exterior inspection, you're not going to see that. So just because we haven't had much in the way of violations, that's a good thing, because people know that the village is watching them, so that's why we're not getting violations. And I think we should continue it and be proactive. I don't think we should discontinue that. I think it's important because things change, and if people know that we're not astute in doing inspections, we don't know what's going on.
So clarification, your thoughts are that there should be an interior and exterior every 3 years?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Julie, this would still allow for an on-site inspection if there were complaints from neighbors. So if somebody complained that there were too many people, or there were people going there picking up packages or whatever, and we had that complaint, we could go in and
Yeah,
inspect
we would have the right to enter the premise and go in and inspect.
Thank you.
Okay. So the recommendation from staff, just to be, again, to be clear, was to require, the initial license inspections would be exterior only, not interior, and be done every 3 years. Or eliminate the every 3 years, sorry. But the village would retain the right to inspect. The zoning board felt that there should be an interior and exterior inspection, and it should be done every 2 years. Trustee Clare is saying he semi-agrees with that, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, I think the 3 years is
Except
fine.
3 years instead of 2 years.
Right.
Trustee Kozak, I'm not sure where you fell in that, so. Other comments, questions then? Trustee Bishke.
So my thoughts would be to agree with what staff is saying, specifically because they're still reserving the right to go in 3 years if there's a need to. So they can do that, but you know, for these specific, what are they, 260 businesses that we talked about, that they wouldn't do that at the, you know, at a regular scheduled interval, but they would reserve the right if there were issues or cause to be concerned. So I agree with what staff is recommending, that do the exterior inspection and then retain the right to do a 3-year inspection, but not automatically schedule.
Okay. Anyone else? I'm going to weigh in a little bit myself here. You know, I'm pretty, as I mentioned, I'm pretty rigid about home businesses. I don't care for them. I think we have residents and we have businesses, and they should remain separate where possible. Certainly a lot of people working from home, but that's not what we're talking about here. You know, at this point, I think staff has it right. These are not the types of businesses that I think we need to worry about, at least doing a check, you know, when necessary or when comment comes up, I think is important. But I think staff's got it right in this case. Any further questions, comments from the board? We'll look for a motion. Anyone?
I would make a motion to concur with staff's initial recommendation.
Second.
There was a second from
Second.
Trustee Dunham. Somebody asked the question, is there anything special we need to do with this? Because we're not concurring with zoning board?
No, all we need to do is vote on the ordinance as presented, which is what includes staff's recommendation. So
Okay.
the recommendation can be voted on now, and then we can vote to approve the ordinance as presented.
We'll do this first, and I'm going to ask the clerk if she'll call the roll.
Trustee Kozak.
Nay.
Trustee Clare.
No.
Trustee Clare.
No.
Trustee Sullivan.
Yes.
Trustee Dunham.
Yeah.
Trustee Madej.
Nay.
Trustee Bishke.
Aye.
Village President votes yes. Motion carries. Do we need to do an ordinance?
We would need to do the ordinance as well.
Okay. Okay, we have ordinance number 21-117, which would be an ordinance amending Title 15, Chapter 154, zoning pertaining to home occupations, which would be a first reading or waive first reading, and it would concur with the actual recommendation from staff and not the zoning board.
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
Second.
Who moved?
Trustee Bishke? Trustee
Sullivan?
Sullivan, second. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Okay. Trustee Kozak.
Nay.
Trustee Clare.
Nay.
Trustee Sullivan.
Yes.
Trustee Dunham.
Yes.
Trustee Madej.
Nay.
Trustee Bishke.
Aye.
And President Gailey.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Going to move on to comments from the audience. Anyone who has comments pertinent towards the Village of Schaumburg, please step forward. Good evening, Commissioner.
Good evening.
How are you?
Bob Schmidt, 978
We know
Glastonbury
who
Lane.
you are. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. Nice to see you.
Yeah. I chair the Bike Waste Committee for the village, and the committee is very proud of our bronze level achievement for bicycle-friendly community. And in our last meeting, we developed guidelines for what to do to achieve the silver level. And I just want to thank Karen Robles and Dave Poe for doing such a great job in presenting it to you that you approved previously tonight. So thank you to them, and thank you to the board.
Well, thank you for commenting. Appreciate it.
Happy holidays, Bob.
Yes. Bobby, good evening.
Hello?
I said good evening.
Oh, good evening.
Please sign in for the record.
Okay. I just have a quick question on how long, if it's possible to limit the length of a lease on, I don't know what you call it, a retail, as in the child care place that we're going to have to pay for. I believe they have either 20 or 30 years.
Well, they have 15
Oh, it's
with
only
two
15.
with 3 5-year extensions. Not that I'm aware of that the village can enter into anything there. It's between the owner and the leasee. But,
Right, you're talking about the one that's being terminated tonight?
well, just I
Mm-hmm.
think in general.
Yeah, and it's a private property ownership issue between a landlord and a tenant.
That's too bad.
Yes, it is. Absolutely agree. Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Moving on, council report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do have one item on the agenda tonight. It's the time of the year for the second review of executive session minutes. We did complete a review of the minutes and made a determination that certain minutes, the confidentiality no longer remains and could be released for public inspection and copying, and those are for the minutes dated July 10th, 2018, May 22nd, 2018, and October 13th, 2009. And we would recommend that that be the motion made and voted on.
Move to authorize the release of the minutes as presented.
A motion and a second. Roll call.
Let's do a roll.
Okay, will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Kozak?
Aye.
Trustee Clare?
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan?
Aye.
Trustee Dunham?
Aye.
Trustee Madey?
Aye.
Trustee Bishki?
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Thank you very much. Anything further?
Nothing other than to wish everybody a happy holiday season and a safe and healthy new year.
Thank you. President's report. I have one item to come before you, and that's committee and commission appointments. I have, I believe, 5 in particular, so I will read them. 2 for September Fest. One is a member volunteer, Debbie Petty, P-R-E.
Ready.
Pardon me?
Ready.
Ready, thank you. George, I knew I can always count on you. Thank you so much. And then Chair of Craft Beer and Wine, Brandy Hansen. Both the terms expire officially on April 30th, 2022. Then another one is for Schweiker House. I believe it's for the trust, the foundation trust.
The Preservation Trust.
Thank you. And that is for Brian Bishke. We have to have a board member also on there, and that term ends April 30th, 2022. Last, as you're aware, last year, or earlier this year, we expanded the Board of Fire and Police Commission from 3 people, which it's been forever, I guess, to 5 people, with the 2 new positions being 1-year appointments. And the 2 that are being suggested for that is Sandy Patchak from and Angel Garcia. I know Angel is here. I don't think Sandy's here, right? So it wasn't requested to be. Both terms are ending April 30th, 2022, in conjunction with when terms normally end. So look for your concurrence. Motion.
So moved.
Move to accept.
Second.
So a motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Kozak.
Aye.
Trustee Clare.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Madey.
Aye.
Trustee Vishki.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays, motion carries. That's all I have, except same thing. Wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, good holidays. Hopefully you enjoy it with friends and the snow stays away. Managers report.
I have no report.
No report, okay. New business? Unfinished business? Trustees' comments and mentions? Your opportunity. Okay. We need a motion to adjourn to executive session in accordance with Section 2, subsection C5 of the Open Meetings Act, land acquisition, the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Kozak.
Aye.
Trustee Clare.
Aye.
Trustee Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Dunham.
Aye.
Trustee Madey.
Aye.
Trustee Vishki.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned, and for your knowledge, we will be remaining here, so we will ask that everyone please depart, collect your stuff. Thank you.